Alright, today we're going to try and do a camo wrap on my 2001 Mitsubishi Montero. Here's some janky paint, that's a respray. And we're going to see if we can make it look good for about a couple hundred US rubles worth of vinyl tape and patience. Alright, well, on this gloomy day, we're gonna do silly things. We're gonna go wash the Montero. Yesterday was 87 degrees in Florida. Today is far colder, so I got my hoodie on, pants on, and my winter flip-flops. So I washed that yesterday and it rained, but I knew it was gonna rain because I did the wheels video. And now we're gonna wash this guy because I finally got some vinyl. Anything in the video at all, but do you think these people like dogs? Okay, so it's been all cleaned and dried. So one of the main reasons, hard to see, but there's paint runs on the paint right here because it's been resprayed. There's some general kind of scratches and paint damage here and there. There's a bit of a spot like you can see on the roof, so I want to cover some of that up. I probably won't go past like this line. And then there's like some kind of damage on the fenders as well. Let's see what else we got. So there's a bit right there. There were some paint runs, but the well visors covered it on this side, so it kind of disappeared. And then also from that off-roading trip where the gas was leaking out. Somehow it burned through the paint or something, or done some damage, so I'm gonna do some kind of a piece right here and just cover the whole thing up. So that's what we're kind of doing. We're just masking our life problems with something pretty. Let's set it on a tripod and start cutting stuff out. Alright, couple hours in, coming out pretty good. That one was a bit difficult. I actually cut out the fuel tank one separately, and so I made that stand alone, but I'm liking these shapes so far. I realize I don't have quite as much material as I thought I was gonna have, so I kind of have to be somewhat economical. I have that one tidbit of black left and another probably some like 2 feet by 5 feet or something like that. So we'll slap this one. I was worried about the hood, but I think this shape is going to be really nice, and I'm getting used to using this knife. This knife definitely helps to cut pretty oddball shapes, but let me do the little time lapse of the hood maybe. Like 8 or 9 a.m. I think it's now about 5:30 p.m. and I thought I had more than plenty of material, and I barely had enough. Technically I kind of don't have quite enough. A couple days later, it's still raining. I'm gonna give you a sneak peek a little bit of the Montero there. And of course I parked it under a tree for an hour, and now look at this mess. So here's the issue I'm having mostly. I ran out of the silver for the front. This one's silver, but it looks kind of black. But so this one kind of comes over here, and then we got this big gap of black, and it's just black, black, black. And on the roof as well. I think this one's silver actually. In the garage, some of them almost look the same, so it's kind of neat. I dig it. So this one's silver, and this is flat black, but in the reflection. But anyway, so I tentatively want to kind of chop this guy off right here, and then have the silver piece come squiggle, squiggle, and then perhaps cut. Because the cool part is that you can disconnect from here. So this one ends here. We rip this up, and then kind of continue this wherever we want. So let me clean the hood up, and then I'll show you kind of how you can practice and test your own vinyl cutting skills. So one of the hardest part I found in the beginning is when you're drawing, so like you kind of want to draw a random pattern, and you'll end up drawing some kind of like a version of a bowling pin, some kind of like a weird, somewhat peepee shape, and then the other one will be like it'll be like a dog bone. So that's one of those things that you want to kind of practice your hand at it at first. So like doodle some things so that Like you can think of kind of like a Y shape or any kind of random, just draw it for a little while and whatnot. The hardest part is the first couple. After that, it's not so bad because then you can look at the truck and kind of see what's lining up. But then having this swivel blade really helps. So on a piece of cardboard I'd probably practice. Let's see if this will make sense, but let's try cutting something out. So it's harder to cut on this, just simply because it's corrugated underneath. So I don't think that's a really good idea. But practice even cutting small pieces out of vinyl, then it'll really help out. Well, let's hope this works. So this piece, I don't want to cut it with the blade on the hood because I don't want to end up cutting into my crappy paint. So that looks a lot better now, so we got clear that we can put a little silver right there and silver kind of coming from there. So I just did the measurement. We need it at least to be 27 inches to kind of hit right there. Alright, so now we're going to utilize that tail piece that was from the hood. So we're going to use this to settle our width. Alright, so as we can see, the piece isn't bad, but it's too short. So, unless we kind of go like this. Alright, I was just finishing the lights update video. Check out how sick these things are when the halos, when they flash and whatnot. I love it. But I'm gonna turn it off and I'm gonna show you the car up close. Morning sun hitting it just so. Came out really good. So most of it was already done. Shout out to Mitsubishi Monteros USA. One of the most helpful Facebook group I've been a part of. It's 95% really good. There's a couple areas that are a little bit like so. I think the camera, there you go. It's so stealth, camera can't even focus, but it looks absolutely sick. I loved it. So the biggest problem area was the hood, but let's do this side real quick and we'll get to it. Man, it's sick or what? Alright, let's start from the beginning. I'll show you what I like, what I don't like, what's been the problem area. So the only difficulty I really had was the hood. I kind of, in retrospect, start with your hood, get that laid down, because that'll give you a good spacing idea before you start wrapping it around the side in case you don't have material. So what happened to me is this piece was perfect. I didn't change that a bit, but this one was really neat. It was a really cool pattern I did, but it went so far that there was no real room for another doodle. So when I pulled this one up, came up, there's a little bit of it coming up here because like I generally don't want to really pull this wrap off several days after the fact, but I laid that one in. This guy right here just kind of went down, so what I did is I left this alone and then I recut this one kind of shooting off in the direction of the other one, so this way they kind of flow together a little better. This one I should have left alone, but I ended up messing around with it, recut it like 4 times and pretty much did exactly the same thing that was already there. Let's see, this one is one of my least favorite pieces. It looked kind of like a really odd bowling pin that kind of been smooshed, but it just ended like in a little tiny tidbit, so I went ahead and took this up and continued that all the way out. But the cool part here is that it's not really a big deal because I got a snorkel on order, so this will be kind of adjusted regardless anyways. And then I did the same spiel right here. This just terminated in a little doodle, so I went ahead and finished it all the way into the hood to kind of tie in all that silver. This one left alone, everything else pretty much stayed the same. Added this little guy here, added this little guy here. This one was a little different shape, so I made kind of almost like a U shape or reverse 4. This one piece is a little bit off. I do want to change it, maybe eventually kind of go like somewhere like have it stick out a little bit, but I was running really low on material, so that's pretty much that. And I think that's it. And then just a little piece right there and right there on the top. I don't know if you can even see, but it's kind of visible a little bit. This one's silver, this one's black. I didn't want to put anything on the spoiler. There's a bit right there. This Rally Art sign right here, there's a damage. There's a Mitsubishi logo right there, you can see, and I think they resprayed it straight up over it. So I covered it up and it's kind of less visible now, so that's fine. Let's go a little piece on the bottom, something here. So there's a couple of spots I can see like it's slightly pulling up. I should have done a little bit better, like take the tail lights and headlights off doing it, but I didn't in retrospect. This one was probably the hardest piece I had to do just because of all these little nooks and crannies. But so far nothing peeled up all the way. Everything's staying in place. It's been about 3 weeks since I've done it, so I'm pretty happy with it. And I had some damage from that off-roading trip where the gas was flowing out, and it must have damaged the respray crappy paint job that I have. So, but so far so good there. Everything is fine. Some of these tidbits look like they're coming up, and they are actually in fact coming up a little bit. But I might just go in with a razor and just cut them down slightly. Yeah, I can see a little piece right here. So there's a couple spots where like probably should have cleaned better or whatnot, but we'll see how it holds up. I mean, worst case scenario, I'll just rip everything off and leave it black and stop messing about with it. But again, the paint is not in great shape to begin with anyhow, so you know, any of it is really an improvement. And one thing I noticed, I mean, I definitely get a lot of compliments on it now. I mean, everybody loves it. I covered about 60% of the paint problems I have. Like, there's always paint scratches like in this area, and some of the pinstriping from the trails, like I see one right here, but some of it is covered up. Some of the rock chips on the hood and so forth. This way it's more of a protective layer, and I just made something for a buddy of mine and traded a sign, so this way it didn't even really cost me anything other than time. I do say that getting that swivel marker or the swivel head razor definitely helps out tremendously, but overall the Montero is pretty much set. It's looking real good. And all we need now is a snorkel, so hopefully if you decide to try it on your own, just clean everything real well, practice cutting the shaves before you commit to the vinyl. Way cheaper than respray it. And if you're wondering why I didn't just bedline the whole truck just like I did with my sides, so I figured to do all the bumpers and so forth, it's about $130, $140 of bed liner. And you gotta sand it, adhesion promotion, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it takes a little while. And so if I was to do it on the whole truck, it would have probably ran me probably realistically under $300 worth of bed liner, probably more. And then the amount of prep work for that is far, far higher. So I just honestly didn't want to deal with that. And then the maintenance of the bed liner too, because it does look like it stains, it doesn't. But you have to use, I personally use tire shine to make that looking good. And then once the rain comes through, it knocks off some of that gloss, making it a nice even texture and whatnot. But then imagine having to tire shine with a sponge the entire truck like that. And then climbing on the roof, taking off the roof rails, all that. Whereas, you know, in one day, and then another like 3 hours when I was redoing the hood, I can knock that out. But anyways, yeah, great success. I'll see you next time for snorkel stuff maybe.